This isn't just tension. This is a moment where armies move heavy pieces on the board, and someone is watching to see if the other side is blinking. Last few days, a clear picture has been forming up. The United States is building up a force in the Middle East, and there's talk about a potential operation that could last for weeks. The American president orders a strike. At the same time, Iran is sending messages. We will stand. We will respond. It will hurt. And in Israel, everything comes down to one simple question. If this blows up, how fast does it close the home front? And how wide can this get? So the question that opens this episode is just one. When everyone is preparing for the day after, who actually holds real capability here? And who is mainly trying to intimidate? Let me say something personal for just a second. I heard that all the options are on the table, and the force is on its way, and I catch myself doing the most Israeli thing in the world, checking ways that are closest safe room, and then going back to my routine, filming this video, picking up my kids, drinking a cup of tea, like nothing happened. This is normal life, and what you see in the Middle East right now. Less tension, more accumulation, and the question is simple. Is this pressure for an agreement, or is it already setting the table for something much bigger? And I see these maps, the circles of range, the names of the ships. I don't think geopolitics. One thing, how fast an ordinary day can turn into a night of sirens, and how long we in Israel might have to stay inside protected rooms. I'm Binder, and this is your ground report. And today, I'm coming to you from an old TED just to give you the atmosphere of the situation. We're gonna make order of everything that's happening with the American forces that are building up in this region and what it can do. Also, what Iran is capable of firing and how it builds deterrence and where Israel stands inside all of this defense, offense, and the home front. Let's begin. Let's simplify this for just a moment. The story here is not who is stronger. The story is deployment. Who is where? Who can act without asking permission from anyone? And who needs time to build momentum? And the concept holding this episode together is deployment, which equaling intent. It doesn't mean something happens tomorrow. But when you see force moving, organizing, concentrating, it means someone wants to be ready, fast, and on a large scale. What we know right now, in the simplest terms, in the United States, there is talk that the military is preparing for the possibility of a prolonged operation against Iran if a decision is made. And at the same time, a diplomatic process continues to roll forward with planned attacks, and the feeling is carrot and stick. Diplomacy on one side and force moving, so the threat feels real on the other. On the economic front, there is talk about increasing pressure on Iran around oil sales, especially around the flow of oil to China. The idea is clear: not only threaten with missiles, but squeeze through money, because money is oxygen. At the same time, Iran is projecting two layers of messaging. One says, we want a fast deal, we want sanctions that will be lifted. And the other says, don't get confused, because if you strike, the response will be strong and painful. And above all of this, inside Iran itself, the picture is getting heavier. According to reports coming through public discourse and regional media, the regime has crushed protests with extreme force, with numbers that speak about tens of thousands that are unalived, and some even claim over 50,000. I'm putting an estimate here. These numbers vary between reports, And not everything is visible to the public, but the direction is clear. This is a regime that does not count its own people. And inside Israel, the message emerging from recent weeks is broad readiness, home front defenses, readiness for response scenarios, and an understanding that this won't be a single point story, but something that could roll across multiple fronts. Hezbollah from the north, the Houthis from the south, and others. Okay, let's make order in all of this. We're gonna move and see what each side has to bring to the table. And I'm going to lay this out to you in 3 different layers: America, Iran, Israel, and then we're gonna connect everything into one scenario. Okay, so layer 1, the United States is the brain, but also the shield. It's the sword. But let's do this properly. When people say American forces are in the Middle East, it's not one unit. It's a full test, full set of skill. Talking about strike, defense, intelligence, command and control, and also logistics. The most important thing is the ability to operate for weeks, not just a minute. The brain sits in a base in Qatar. From this base, they can manage the entire sky over Iran and the Middle East. This is where a center connects with radar, aircrafts, and interception of systems. And inside it is a regional coordination cell or air and for missile defenses. It has been established, and in simple terms, it's the place where they try to ensure warning flows fast, and every layer knows what it's doing. Now the sword. It's the easiest thing to understand, the hardest thing to swallow. An aircraft carrier is a floating airfield. And when you have one in this arena, and another one on its way, it changes the whole game. In terms of deployment, according to the public United States Navy tracking, the aircraft carrier USA's Abraham Lincoln is in the Arabian Sea. And it's not just a ship, it's a whole package. It has an air wing that includes a mix of aircrafts that together deliver strike, stealth, control, and electronic warfare. And what's on it? What's on this ship? F and A, ATPs, strike fighters that do both air-to-air fight and air-to-ground combats. We have F-35Cs. You have 5th generations that are very advanced fighter jets on the deck. And they are especially strong for the picture and quiet penetration of elements in Iran. You have PA-18G Growler, electronic core film that's jamming, confusing, and protecting the forces. You have A2D, which is a flying control tower that holds the air, takes a picture and manages the fight. And you have other movements and support layers, CMV-22B, MH-60RS helicopters for maritime missions and for support. Bottom line, one carrier brings a package, 2 carriers brings tempo, continuity, and depth. And now, second carrier reported is being directed to this region, the USS Gerald R. Ford. That's already a statement because Lincoln is moving forward with its own airfield. And Ford joining says, we want more aircrafts, more control, and more endurance. The wing linked to it is a floating that is carrying the Air Wing 8, but the concept there is similar. Strike aircraft, drone warfare, early warnings, and helicopters holding the ground together. Now, the shield. If this escalates, the immediate risk is salvos of missiles and drones, especially at bases and its assets in the Middle East. That's why you keep hearing names: Patriot, Bad, Aegis from the sea. No need to get into the ranges. No need to get into how they work. But the principle is layers. Patriot, 1 layer. Bad, second layer. And then have the Asian that is defending from the maritime area, another layer of defense. And this is part of an integrated picture of response to whatever the Iranians can offer against us. At this point, there are reports about hardening base and defenses, shifting deployments to be less predictable. That's exactly the whole picture that this system is bringing in. Not only do you have interception, but you have the ability to corner and to reduce vulnerabilities. Now, here is the one fact that holds everything together. Iran relies on ballistic missiles and on drones as the backbone of the deterrence because it gives regional range, it gives masses, and it lets them break the fourth routine. Because it gives regional range, it gives them mass, and it lets them break the routine, even without classic air superiority like the Americans have. And here's what you have to understand. When people talk about an Iranian response, it's not only Iran versus Israel, the wider envelope that includes bases in the Gulf, shipping lanes, and the entire region. So to explain this without getting into anything like that is instructional, I'll give explanations of a range envelope. It appears in open sources. Models around 500 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers, then 1,300, 1,600, up to areas of 1,800 kilometers in various reports. What does that mean for the viewer at home? If this deteriorates, many actors in this region enter the line of fire, not just one point on the map. Iran has two more legs of power. One leg is a maritime component. Pressure on shipping and friction in the Gulf, and also in sensitive choke points. Second leg is the network of proxies. Sometimes the response doesn't come directly, but there are other fronts, and that changes the geography of the event. Now comes the internal discussion. A regime that feels pressure, here's talk about regime change, and at the same time faces public fury, can become more dangerous, not less. And this is where the repression story matters. When you see reports of tens of thousands unalived protests and trials and persecution of opposition figures, you understand that this is not just a normal government. This is a fear mechanism. And layer 3, Israel, multi-layered defenses, readiness for salvos. This is where our audience always asks, okay, so what do we do if there are salvos? Israel sits on a multi-layered defensive concept. Iron Dome for one layer, David Sling for an intermediate layer, Arrow for higher layers against ballistic threats, and then inside that, the thing that the public loves to hear about because it's new, it's Iron Beam, a laser and an additional layer that is cheaper. And at the public level, the promise of laser is to handle the cheaper, the fast threats like drones and rockets more effectively and save expensive interceptors or heavier threats. Now, this is important. Israel will not always be the attacking arm in an American scenario, but if it can become a target for retaliation, it will, in most cases, because it's an ally of the US, and he's part of the regional picture. That's why you keep hearing the same message: readiness, alertness, and the ability to operate continuously across different areas. And one more thing that people miss: real capability is not measured only by what you have, but by what you don't see. Real-time intelligence, electronic warfare that isn't publicized, cyber, you don't take photos with, and assets that you don't speak about out loud. And I'm intentionally not going there because that's exactly where information becomes dangerous. What is important to say? The moment that these systems move, coordinate, and integrate, it's a sign of seriousness. So, if we connect everything into one picture, United States organizes a brain shield sword. Iran relies on missiles, sea proxies, and internal fear. And Israel stands in the middle with multi-layered defenses, home front readiness, and the people that believe that they are here for a reason, that God placed us here. If there are 2 American aircraft carriers in this region, does that mean that the strike is already locked? Short answer, not necessarily. 2 carriers can be leveraged for an agreement and also real preparation for a potential escalation. But one thing that it doesn't mean, and this deteriorates the ability to respond fast and continuously, is already nearby.
A new year has begun, and with it comes a renewed opportunity to make a real difference in the land of Israel.
The Rebuild Israel campaign is back, and this Tu B'Shvat, we are planting something powerful, an apple orchard in Israel's north, near the border with Lebanon.
But this isn't just about trees, it's about healing a wounded land.
Every tree planted brings new strength, it creates jobs, restores agriculture, and sends a clear message: the people of Israel are not giving up. Your support makes this possible. Your donations go directly to planting these trees.
Each tree is a symbol of hope, a symbol of faith, and your part in this mission leaves a lasting impact for generations to come. Plant a tree, restore the land, and build the future.
Go to www.tbn.org/rebuildisrael and be part of this mission, 1 tree at a time.
So Yair asked the question, how is Iran organizing for the current war, and what are the signs that renewed protests have already starting to simmer again? The hottest thing coming out of the material right now isn't another statement, it's preparations on the ground inside Iran on 2 parallel tracks: security and civilian. Now, on the one hand, the IRGC and the Basij are changing their deployment to protect themselves and also to control the streets. On the other hand, the public is already behaving like a public that feels the confrontation is on the way. Let's start with the security deployment. According to information coming from opposition channels, the regime is using civilian facilities as fortresses. Football stadiums, hospitals, and additional civilian buildings are all becoming concentration points for security forces and riot control equipment. The goal is twofold: to place force inside the city and also to try to blend into the civilian environment during a period when there are fears of a US-Israeli strike. Now, there's one very concrete example. In Isfahan, the Nashk el-Jahesh Stadium, the home field of Sefan, has recent days become a concentration point for water cannon trucks, for motorcycles, and vehicles of special units. According to the report, even a match that was planned to be held there was postponed by 1 day to allow the forces to be evacuated and the field to be prepared for the game to take place. This isn't a general rumor. It's an actual change of use in a major public facility for the purpose of security activity. This isn't a one-time event. According to the same reporting line, there were similar uses in the past at additional sports complexes and also in stadiums in Tehran as concentration and staging points for security forces, mainly during times of tension and during protests. The meaning is simple. The regime is bringing its tools into the urban areas, close to friction points, but also under the umbrella of civilian facilities. Now, this use doesn't end with stadiums. There's also a softer indication, but a troubling one at that. A source from the health sector in Tehran said that in recent days, commanders and IRGC personnel held meetings inside a medical center in the city. According to the report, the arrival of figures accompanied by security teams and the holding of meetings that are not medical raised concern among medical staffs. When a medical center turns into a temporary command room, it's a sign that the security systems are looking for places that are quiet and also places that are harder to strike. Alongside all of this, there's civilian preparedness. According to photos and reports, citizens in several cities are taping windows with adhesive tape to reduce blast damage in the case of an explosion. It's a short sentence, but it says a lot. People are preparing for the possibility of being hit, not only for a demonstration, and along the same lines, there's talk of residents frequenting shopping centers and stocking up on food and essential equipment. This isn't necessarily panic. It's a pattern that appears when rumors become routine, and the threat becomes something you can feel in your gut. Now we move to the second track, and it's no less critical, the protest. Here we are seeing a clear renewal of movement at universities in Tehran and in other places. Thousands of protesters went out today on campuses as part of making the 40 days since the killing, or marking the 40 days since the killing of the January protest wave. This isn't just another random protest. It's a symbolic day that creates a framework, and it brings the public back into the streets. At one of the universities, they shouted freedom and death to Khamenei, at the Basij activists who confronted them. And the material also gives us very precise points. On Hafez Street, near the campus of Mikabir University, it was reported that protesters blocked the street and shouted, "Don't be afraid, we are all together." And at the Sharif University of Technology, a protest rally was held, and in the material, we also have an important detail that you asked us to include. The Sharif University, students who held a protest ceremony in memory of the dead were attacked by the Basij force activists. And at two additional universities in the Iranian capital, clashes were also reported. Now here is also a counter-response from the establishment. The president of one of the universities where the clashes took place said a sentence that explains exactly how the regime looks at this story. He claims that the opponents want the university to move to online activity, but we will not allow it. It sounds technical, but this is at the heart of the matter. The regime understands that the campuses are an engine. If you close them or move them to virtual learning, you take the air out of the protests. And within this picture, there's also a battle over the numbers and the narratives. Trump claimed that 32,000 protesters were killed in the suppression of the protest. Aragchi demands of him bring proof. And on the other side, the regime presents a list of 3,100 victims, including about 200 police officers, and claims that this is full transparency. It's a huge gap, and it serves both sides. The Americans present extreme repression, and the Iranians present order and terror. On the ground, this gap turns into more fuel, because every family that was touched by the protest feels the truth is far away, and that someone there is playing with the numbers. And there's one more technical detail that connects directly to the question. How are they organizing for war? The answer is air defense. According to an analysis by a researcher in the non-proliferation field, Iran still holds S-300 systems around Tehran, and there are satellite images indicating the deployment of launchers. But at those sites, the original radars of the Russian-made system are absent. The meaning is, according to that analysis, that the capability has most likely been significantly damaged or reduced completely. Even if the Iranians found an alternative solution with local radars, the assessment is that performance is lower and that there is a poor integration between the different systems, which makes the array vulnerable to penetration and disruption even at the sensitive sites. And this is what organizing for war from the inside looks like. The regime disperses and hides its forces inside civilian facilities. It activates the Basij to deter campuses and tries to keep the streets on a short leash. And at the same time, civilians prepare for blast effects. They stock up and they bring the protests back to the places most dangerous to the regime: universities and central streets. Now, Yael, the question now is whether the regime is capable of both preparing for a confrontation from the outside and suppressing a new protest wave from within, or whether we'll break between the two fronts. I'm here, Mati Shoshani. Now back to Yael Pinto.
So if you want more episodes like this, with maps, a clear head, images, that you understand what's going on, make sure to like this channel, hit the subscribe button, and never miss another episode. Out Boots on the Ground. So now the big story here isn't only who wins. The story is who you build and how you build a reality where the other side understands that it will pay a heavy price if it reacts. And then maybe, just maybe, it chooses to climb down from the tree. And meanwhile, when you have both diplomacy and aircraft carrier, both threats and protests being crushed, the region becomes compressed. And then every small mistake, even provocation, every one little incident can ignite something big. I'm not just saying it. What's happening on the ground now? I'm saying that the ground looks like it's ready for every kind of escalation. And the question that truly worries me is not only what Iran will do, but what it will choose to do when it feels pressure from within and surrounded from without. So the system is already standing on the edge. And all that's missing is one little spark that will ignite it all. Question is who will place that spark first and what they truly want to achieve. But for us, this is super complicated, I know. The best thing that we can do is to pray, because when I do not have the answers, it can be scary. It can be a tough place to be in, but it can be an amazing opportunity to trust in God, to have faith that He will prevail and He will lead us forward to the best scenario for our lives. It's all about a personal connection between us, His people, and our Father in heaven. So let's pray for wisdom to our leader. Let's have faith that He has the answer, even if we think it's impossible. Let's pray for the peace of Jerusalem.